We'll go ahead and get started. Hopefully you enjoyed the college report videos. Hopefully you got a chance to browse through those this morning. I do want to give special thanks to Bryant Clement for putting those together for us. I know that was a lot of work on Brian's part to get all those organized and put into one spot so that they could be viewed by you guys. I do appreciate all of you that sent one in. If you did want to still send one and update the rest of the members on what your programs have been doing, feel free to do that. It does take a bit to get them all uploaded, but definitely be interested in hearing from everyone. Hopefully you also got a chance to view the awards presentation last night. Again, congratulations to all those people with your service time awards, to Bruce Hendrickson for his honorary membership, and also to all of you in your programs for cultivating new ag teachers. It's great to see that the community college is still an important part of that endeavor to create new ag educators. So congratulations to everyone, and thanks again to Doug Robb for putting that presentation together for us so that we could view that. At this time, I'll ask for a motion to approve our agenda if there is no other additions to the agenda.
Gary Shoup, I move to accept the agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second, Aaron Heinzman.
Thank you, Aaron. All in favor of approving the agenda, maybe just hit your little reaction icon at the bottom or raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, the agenda is approved. In the back of your packet, if you can scroll all the way to the end, we have our minutes from our annual meeting for 2019. Thanks again to Brian for putting those together. I'd entertain any corrections or additions to the minutes at this time. If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Grant Grebner makes a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Gary Shoup, I second that.
Thank you, Gary. All in favor, raise your hand or give me a thumbs up in the reactions. Opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. Thank you to again to Brian for putting those together. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mike Ober. Mike is the president of the NACTA Coaches Association. I've heard wonderful things about Mike's work. Although, like a lot of us, I've never had the chance to meet Mike because haven't been super involved in the NACTA competitions. I know there are a few programs here in Illinois that have competed before, but the executive committee thought with changes in PAS and definitely looking for new opportunities for our students, we'd reach out to a couple national organizations to learn more about opportunities for ourselves and our students. So Mike, if you wanted to maybe tell us a little bit more about yourself, and then I think you got some comments and some information for us on the NACTA organization. So I'll turn the floor over to you.
Well, thank you, Jeff. Excuse me. Pleasure to be with you this morning. My name is Mike Raber. I currently serve as an animal science instructor and livestock judging coach at Northeast Community College in Norfolk, Nebraska. Just finishing up my 23rd year here. That I have been president of the NACTA Coaches Association, Judging Coaches Association. I believe it's been since 2015 is when I took office, and it's one of those things that in the 20 years that we've been involved with the judging conference, I think we've had 3 presidents over that time. So it's one of those things that once you're in office, you kind of stay there for a while until something comes up and you leave. So I am going to pull up a little presentation that I have, just show you a little bit about the NACTA Judging Conference. And again, this conference is a judging conference normally held in the spring. We are with the North American Colleges and Teachers of Agriculture. Now, I refer to it many times as the parent organization. The judging conference itself does not, we have a part with them in terms of we utilize the NACTA name. We have to belong to, the schools that participate need to be members of NACTA in order to participate. NACTA itself does an educational conference in the summer. Again, it usually moves around the country also. Now, I know they are planning to go virtual again this next summer. They do educational workshops, poster presentations, and those types of things. And so if you go to, and I've got their website listed here at the end of this presentation, NACTAteachers.org, you can find out more about that, their actual organization. As far as the judging conference, it's hosted each spring by colleges, universities around the country. And I will just say we are always looking for new institutions that are willing to host. Normally we have a 2-year plan out in terms of host. Because of the situation we're in right now, we know where we're going in 2021. After that, it's up in the air. We did not meet at all last spring. We were supposed to be in Fort Hays State University last spring. And then about 2 weeks prior to about a month prior to, we ended up canceling and that. And so we've been waiting to kind of see how this year goes before we kind of move on to where we're going to be in the future. As far as the contests that are required, there are 6 required within the constitution of our organization. And then the host institution determines what other contests that they want to host. And so those required, well, and again, so we happened to host the conference back in 2018. We were at Northeast Community College. And so we've been through it. We've actually hosted twice in the time that I've been here and that. So it is a lot of work putting it together, but it is very worthwhile also. As far as the required contests, you need agribusiness contest, a knowledge or quiz bowl, soils, dairy judging, livestock judging, and then a crops judging contest. And then again, like I said, other contests are up to the host institution. In the past, a lot of the common ones we've had are livestock management, ag computers, ag communications, ag mechanics, welding, precision ag, poster presentations, and horticulture. Again, it kind of depends on the area where we go. We were up at University of Minnesota Crookston a few years ago. They had more on some wildlife management, some things of that nature, because that's some of the contests that they had done with some of their high school kids. And so again, they basically adapted it to the college contest. Along with our contest, we have a sweepstakes award. And basically it depends upon the number of contests that are being held in terms of how many contests count for this. And it's a deal where the top team gets 1,000 points, and then everybody else's score is based upon how you scored in relation to the top team. And so we announced a champion and reserve overall in that sweepstakes contest. The last 2 years, Blackhawk College, I know for the last 2 years for sure, Blackhawk has won that award on the 2-year level, and they've won it several times over the years that we have been involved in the competition. In order for a school to participate, as I mentioned, you have to be a member of an institutional member of NACTA. The 2-year schools, it's $100 a year membership fee. For the 4-year schools, it's $150. And again, I work with those institutions. If you are interested in participating in the conference, you don't know for sure if you're a dues paying member, I can do some checking. Or the other thing we do, once we do get registrations in, we just double check and make sure that those dues are paid. Because that's one of the agreements we have with what I call that parent organization, to make sure all those participating schools are members of the organization. Our host institution for 2021 is going to be Hutchinson Community College in Hutchinson, Kansas. I just was in contact with their agriculture chair last Friday. The dates are April 14th to 17th, 2021. Again, they don't have the specific schedule out yet. I will show you a list of contests here on the next slide. They are still getting their website put together. Once they have their website put together, we will have a link to that website, the NACTAteachers.org website, which is the NACTA website. There is a link at the top of that page that talks about the judging conference. And so you can go there. Hopefully here early after the first year, there will be some information up as far as the actual schedule and contest registration and those types of things. As far as I know, what they're planning on, again, those 6 required contests, but then they're also planning ag communications, ag computers, livestock management and doing a poster contest is what they're planning for 2021. So again, my information there, MIKESR at Northeast EDU, I can always share information with you. Again, the host institution will have information up. So are there any questions from anybody?
Does your website have practice materials? Like how does a program begin preparing for these things? Do they have training sessions or materials
There are
online?
some past like quizzes and tests up there on some of them, past rules and things of that nature. Basically, it's kind of the past. I don't know how much of there's in terms of past tests and that. But there are like the past rules in terms of like livestock management. Most of the time, it's a written test, an ID test, and then a problem solving. In that the soils contest, the rules kind of stay the same from year to year. Crops judging, again, it's normally a plant ID, a math. There's a math test, and then a industry. I call it an industry type test, but again, a written test that goes along with it. So.
Well, I apologize if maybe you mentioned this already, but about how many schools do participate at each event?
Usually we get about 40 to 45 schools total. About half of those will be on the 2-year side, half on the 4-year side. You'll get, somewhere around 7 to 8 schools. When I say 7 to 8 schools, will be in contention for those sweepstakes awards. Because, you need a minimum number. It's based upon the number of contests that the host institution hosts, how many points count. And so therefore, or how many contests count. And so usually there's 7 to 8, but then you'll get some schools that'll come in and do just 1 or 2 contests, depending upon where we're at. The livestock judging contest, especially when we're in the Midwest, tends to be one of the bigger contests that take place. So.
Has your enrollment from schools been growing, staying stable? What's that current status?
It's pretty much stayed stable. We pick up a couple schools here and there at times. Again, we've had a couple that participate in the past that don't participate as much. Again, a lot of it depends upon where we're at. When we hosted the year before or the year after us was I can't think of it now. Western Kentucky. Before the year before us was Kansas State. Again, when we're in the Midwest, we kind of see a little bit more. When we were up at the University of Minnesota Crookston, we had a few, not quite as many schools participate. And some of those schools that did, they maybe didn't bring quite as many students with them and that. So we're one that will take, 20 or 30 to 35 kids, put some of them in 2 or 3 contests along the way. Unlike my livestock judges become dairy judges too, even though they don't have much dairy experience, if any, going in.
So is the participation at the events 100% contest oriented, or do you have professional development workshops for students?
We are strictly contest oriented.
Okay.
The professionals, every now and then they'll do some career fairs and things like that with the students. Kind of depends on the year and the host institution. But for the most part, it's focused on the contests.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mike, what does contest registration cost per student?
It's set by the school. Most of the last several years, it's been $40 per contestant per contest is where it's been. And so again, that, covers, their expenses for that contest. Plus normally there's a banquet. Now I know Hutchison is in trying to decide for sure if they can, have the banquet or not. They may just do a big award ceremony instead of a full banquet. That's part of their discussion still going on that I know of in visiting with them last week. But it's been at that $40 a student for 5-6 years now that I remember. So
For those of you that want some more information, I did take our crops team down to NACTA when it was at Murray State here a couple of years ago, since PAS didn't have nationals. So that was the first time I'd ever been there, and it was an interesting learning curve. But I think we wound up getting third down there, which was kind of interesting. But it's a tougher contest definitely than we put on at PAS.
Any more questions for Mike at all? Well, I definitely thank you, Mike, for taking the time to chat with us this morning. I know those people that have participated have great things to say about your competitions and how things are run. So if you got any more questions for Mike, I'm sure he'd be glad to entertain those by email afterwards or whenever you feel the need to reach out.
well, thank you for having me, and everybody have a good holiday.
Same to you.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you, Mike, again for joining us. Next on the agenda, we'll move to Doug Robb and John Edgar on our financial report, and that can be found in your conference program after our membership report if you want to reference that.
I'm not sure if there's anything Doug wants to chime in, but I'd give just kind of a quick overview. IACCAI is still in pretty good shape with cash flow. You've got not quite $9,000 that's been in your checking account at the end of the last fiscal year. And you've worked pretty well to build up those reserves over the years. So you've got in a good position given current circumstances this year. If you look at the finances from last year, everything pretty close to what we budgeted, within ranges. The only note that I would give is that the Illinois FFA Center was a recipient of the PPP loan last spring. So with that, our administrative council, which Brad Angus sits on as your IACCAI representative, they approved waiving the final payment last spring. So typically each organization makes 6 payments throughout the year. So your 6th and final payment of last fiscal year was waived since we were a recipient of the PPP loan. And so that's reflected in these financials. Otherwise, would answer any questions anybody has.
I also will mention that I appreciate you guys registering for the conference. I know that $50 to sit on a Zoom meeting seems maybe like a lot of money, but that was reflective of our commitment to the FFA Center and all the administrative things that it takes to run our organization throughout the year. So we looked at what our commitment was for that, and that's kind of why we set the registration the way it is. Also encourage you all to pay your membership dues, because that's also an important piece in financially making our organization go. So definitely encourage you to get squared away with that. Also, we discussed in our PAS committee last night or yesterday afternoon that we also have some financial obligations there. So keep that in mind as we progress through the spring semester and the PAS information comes out. So if there's not any more questions for John or Doug, we will move into our affiliate reports. So let's go ahead and start with our newest Ag Ed family member, Andrew Klein. So Andrew, I'll give you the floor.
Thank you, Jeff. Good morning to everyone. Lots of friendly faces in the crowd. If you don't know me, my name is Andrew Klein. I'm the new principal consultant for agricultural education here at the state board. That started November 2nd. Before that, I was a high school agriculture teacher and FFA advisor at MacArthur High School in Decatur. I have been in ag education what I feel like is most of my life, and many of the individuals on this call even today were pretty awesome mentors for me. So a big part of the reason why I took the job is just because I care about the work you're doing. I care about the things that we do together, and then the ways that you've, achieved things for agricultural education. And in years gone by. So just know that I'm very much appreciative and respectful of that, and I look forward to stewarding the past accomplishments that you've done. I have a few notes here. Then I also told Jeff, you know, I'm available for questions as long as you need. So if you have questions, maybe just make sure you ask them so we can address them now, or if you want to follow up later, my contact information is available on the Illinois Agricultural Education website. Some things to mention, just so far, even since November, I feel like we've moved a couple of key things forward, and I'm very excited about that. We've got some of our bigger grants moving forward and, you know, process, so to speak. I know the grant timeline was a lot later this year than we would like, and I look forward to correcting that for FY22. But with regards to the FK grant, the incentive funding grant for high schools, and our gas grant, we're sitting in pretty good shape. Our 3-circle grant has, you know, is almost done processing all the original applications, and then our university incentive is in a good shape as well. So another grant that I'm sure pertains, you know, especially to this group, the pre-service internship RFP that was released right there at the beginning of November. Those applications were due by December 7th, and I can tell you we did not actually receive any applications for that by the original deadline. It's not super uncommon, and I feel like, just personally, I feel like maybe it was lost in the shuffle a little bit as far as advertising it to our friends in ag education. So what is going to happen with that moving forward, and I think actually will maybe be better just considering the kind of time pressures of the pandemic and such, we will revise that RFP slightly and modify it to be, you know, starting for FY22. So that'll be released this spring. We'll process applications. We'll select an applicant or a fiscal agent for that, and then that will start in FY22. So that'd be July 1 of 2021. So be on the look for that. I'll make sure that we, you know, advertise that through our agricultural education listserv system, that you're well informed about that when that is re-released. Future projects or ongoing projects that I'm excited about and that I would like you to be aware of. We have a curriculum project coming out soon with Parkland College that will be funded through our wonderful royalty account. I look forward to releasing that. And if you're interested, eligible applicants for that are pretty much any agricultural education related organization. So if you have any interest in developing curriculum, there will be an RFP released here soon. And it allows for a lot of flexibility and creativity. So if you have good things going on that you'd like to formalize and share with our secondary teachers, I think that would be an interesting opportunity that you should look into. We are doing a complete kind of spring cleaning, so to speak, and revision of our agricultural education rules, just going through and updating a lot of the provisions there that would match. Most of the time we're just making sure it aligns and matches with what we're already putting into practice in agricultural education, but there are a couple of key things in there that are changing, and those changes are being made based on the recommendations of a couple of key groups, the most important of which being the Illinois Committee for Agricultural Education, which obviously this group is represented by Dr. Kaizen. So that's good there. The FK RFP was, which you probably don't, because I don't even, but if you pay attention to the Illinois State Board of Education meetings, you know that the FK RFP was approved for a 1-year extension, so that will go through FY22. It was originally supposed to end and then be released, you know, to start anew in FY22 with a new application process, but we've extended that 1 year to allow time to analyze and revise as needed. So that RFP will be released then for FY23. I'm looking forward to that. And then we're working with our friends at IBAT to revise some of our middle school provisions and the way that we support our middle school agriculture programs. So that's just about it as far as like ongoing projects and key things that have happened so far. 2 other things you should know. I am the principal consultant for agricultural education, but we've also hired another principal consultant, and half of her time is spent with agricultural education projects. Her name is Dr. Sheila Rowe. She comes to us from a variety of past professional experiences in academia, private and public sector, agricultural and industrial technology. So very interesting. I've enjoyed working with her so far. She's not super familiar with Illinois agricultural education or a lot of the systems and structures, but she is highly, versed in agriculture and the industry and industry needs, and also I think the needs of some of our more underrepresented populations that we're trying to reach out to in agricultural education. So I look forward to bringing her into the family, so to speak. And I'm sure, once you get to know her, if you have a chance to work with her, you'll really learn to appreciate her, because I've really enjoyed that so far. And the last thing I want you to know, the anticipated timeline for our FY22 grants will be released for, application right around tax time. So my goal is to get those applications out to you April 15th, knock on wood. But then hopefully the idea is that we will be able to get those processed and approved before, the fiscal year starts, rather than doing this whole retroactive thing that we seem to be stuck in here the last few years. So I digress, but that is my official report from the Illinois State Board of Education. It's been fun so far. It's been a great learning experience. It's fun to see how Ag Ed fits into the big picture of CTE and how we match up some of our other friends in CTE. And just learning that whole world has been a great joy. And a big part of that, even for me, is understanding the relationship that our EFE systems often have with our community colleges. So that's been interesting and a little bit of a learning curve for myself. But as I said earlier, I'm willing to take any questions that you may have. Jeff and I kind of spoke yesterday, a little preemptively, maybe just to address some of the concerns this group might have. So if you have specific questions, I'm more than willing to answer them or get back to you if I can't answer them right now.
Silence is a good thing, Andrew. That means you answer.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Frank, did you have something or? Okay, excellent. Well, knowing Andrew, I think we're definitely going to be pleased with the work that he's going to do for our organization and for agricultural education. So thank you, Andrew, for being on with us. I know you've got several other meetings and obligations today, so he may be hopping off soon, but definitely can reach out to him. We did invite Kaizad here with us today. I don't know if he's on yet. I know he had a couple other things to take care of this morning, but of course he's our IK representative. IK has a pretty strong voice in how state grant dollars are spent, and that group directs a lot of the work that Andrew does. So if you have any concerns or any questions or thoughts, you can definitely reach out to Andrew, but know that Kaizad's kind of our voice on that IK committee. So
and
there are no other questions. Yeah.
Jeff, it's probably also worth mentioning that if any of you ever want to participate in any of our IK meetings, those meeting dates and times are published in advance, and then there's always time for public comment. So, you're not just limited to your one representative. If you have thoughts or testimony, so to speak, that you like to provide, by all means, we would more than welcome that. And I think it is beneficial for the committee to hear from multiple perspectives, even within the same group, right? Because a lot of times, even if we have the same job or role, we don't always necessarily agree on what that is. So I think it's beneficial. So please participate if you feel that your thoughts won't be conveyed. Thanks
Excellent.
again.
Well, thank you again. Thank you again, Andrew. Today, or this morning, we've got Ann Petrowski with us. She is the president of the IACCAI organization. I invited her to give us an update on the professional organization that a lot of us belong to as well.
Hello, everyone. I hope everyone's semester has gone well, even if it has been a little bit different. As far as IVAT, I don't want to say we've been super busy, but we've been busy enough. So this past year, we did put out our RFPs, and we do have all of our CDEs and LDEs scheduled for the next 5 years. We have hosted 5 virtual CDEs. Actually, it should be 7 now. 7 CDEs this semester here, and we'll probably continue to host those CDEs and LDEs virtually in the springtime if hosts can accommodate that. along with FK, our professional development committee has been doing some professional development virtually. We've hosted 12 plus workshops since June. And it is free for all teachers unless those teachers want their CPDUs. If they want those CPDUs, they do pay that $100. So we have made about $9,000 to make up some of those losses from contests and things like that. So we have been trying very hard to make up those losses and still provide opportunities for our teachers and our students. Other things, we are going to be again, part of the Retention Recruitment Committee has done they're hosting some virtual nights, social nights. There's one being held tonight. They do a coffee break for that 7 to 15-year teacher. I know they've been doing some ones with the 1st and 2nd year teachers just to kind of get them comfortable with what we're doing since we can't meet in person. Other than that, we had some people, or we had about 5, 10, it was about 11 representatives for our NEE conference that was held virtually there the last week of November. And then we will be hosting our Region 4 NEE conference in 2021 in Effingham. So we are starting the planning on that and starting to do some planning, hopefully, fingers crossed, in person for our summer conference, but if not, we will be planning that virtually very soon. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Ann, for joining us this morning. I definitely appreciate it. Just a few thoughts as we kind of wrap up your report. I know Bill Johnson, when he was with us, always reminded us during this conference that Ag Ed is all very interconnected, and our success as community college ag programs and as university ag programs depends on the rest of Ag Ed all being successful. So the work that the IAVAT does to promote programs and contests and professional development for high school teachers directly impacts us. I do encourage you to look at that list of professional development opportunities. There's definitely some that pertain to us and can help us in our teaching. I'm also going to make a plug here and encourage you to look into the Ag 365 campaign. As many of us know, and a few of us may not, we do have a full-time lobbyist on the behalf of Ag Ed that's working for us and has brought a tremendous amount of value and new programs to Illinois Ag Ed. So I know myself and several others have contributed towards that effort, and that's definitely very important. So you can find some more information on the IVAT or Illinois Ag Ed website about that, or ask myself or anybody else to help you out with that if you would like to contribute. So.
One last thing.
Yeah.
The other thing also is we are looking at resectioning. It was put in our constitution that we are going to look at resectioning every 5 years. And if anyone is above or below the sections are above or below the state average, which is, I do believe 16, will basically need to be resectioned. So we do have quite a few sections that are below. There are quite a few that are above. And so we are looking at resectioning, and it will probably affect some community colleges as far as, you know, what section they're in and what kind of contest they host. So we are looking at doing that. We're supposed to have a proposed plan presented in at the IAVAT meeting here in December. So just to look at maybe for the summer conference. So.
Okay, so question that I have is what's the level of involvement of the IACCAI board expected to be as part of that, since it would have since obviously IACCAI, the community colleges are very involved in hosting the contest, I think it would make sense to encourage our input if we could on the front end. That'd be excellent.
How about this? Once we get a proposed one, we're supposed to have a proposed plan done by, I think it's next Monday. We're going to see the first proposed plan. And then I honestly, I would probably welcome suggestions, because we are going to have, we rely a lot on our community colleges and universities to host those contests. So I think that's a great thought, and I'll mention it during our meeting, Jess.
All right, sounds good.
Excellent. Yeah, definitely something to look for, and provide some input if you guys have input on that process. I know that's kind of long overdue. I believe it was supposed to be looked at every 5 years, and it's been over 15 since it's really been visited, but definitely makes things more equitable for our high school programs that fall in our areas. So any other questions for Ann?
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
This is Doug. If anybody has questions or concerns with the resectioning or anything else, they can let me know, since I'm the representative on the IVAT board.
Yeah, thank you for that. Definitely keep Doug in the loop if you got input, for sure. Any other questions for Ann or thoughts on IVAT? All right, I'll turn it over to Dean Dittmar with FCAE, and he's going to give a report that they've been doing.
Thank you, Jeff, and IACCAI members. We appreciate working with you throughout the year. And just to introduce our team, starting with the South and District 5, Casey Bolin, Megan Coy in District 4, Jennifer Waters in District 3, Luke Allen in District 2, and welcoming to the group John Heiser in District 1 as of July 1st. So again, appreciate the partnership that we've had as far as working with you with advisory committees, data that we're going to talk about here a little bit later as well, part of the agenda, especially our agricultural education career development events across each district. With your participation, that is definitely helping as far as recruitment and retention of agriculture teachers, as well as the articulation efforts with the secondary schools as well. So I did provide in the chat and did email that out yesterday, but just to give you an idea as far as our report, and again, if you did want to follow along, we'll highlight some of those items here then as well. But that top link there, again, if you need contact information, feel free to give us a call. Andrew's information is there now as well with his photo. So, hey, Andrew, hopefully a good thumbs up that you're on the state map there then as well. So we did have a good year this last year, despite the pandemic, that you can see as far as our secondary middle school enrollment at a 2.5% increase over a year ago. Private schools are still steady to increasing slightly. And again, duplicated enrollment, those individuals, so those students that are taking multiple ag courses, a 6% increase there then as well. Let John and Mindy take care of and boast about FFA membership, but again, that was an 8% increase over this last year as well. You do see that, again, ag in the classroom, the touch points, kindergarten through the 8th grade level, that was reduced by 30% this last year. Again, really due to the spring events, as far as those ag in the classroom coordinators that had touch points and in-person events with those students. But again, as another year in this fall, they are transitioning and pivoting to a more of an online type of interaction with those students. So again, we hope that will increase a little bit more this next year. The college data, I'll let Luke take that, not necessarily right now, but here in a few moments. But again, 26 community colleges this year, I should say this last year, with ag programs, one less. And again, that was Lincoln Trail College at Robinson. A little bit of a decrease as far as overall students, a 2% decrease And again, we'll talk about that a little bit later then as well. You can see as far as our new middle school involvement and initiative, but we do have interest at that level, and appreciate Andrew and especially the IAVAT Middle School Committee for helping us with that. But you see those 6 new programs for 2021. We did have 4 closed programs though, mainly due to COVID, the pandemic, and a late loss of teachers. We do hope that those 4 will come back again for 21-22. You see then the middle school numbers, high school numbers, coalitions, and so on then as well. Just briefly, again, appreciate that we do have now an all-inclusive website. And again, we are moving forward in making that better each day. Ag Experience Tracker at the AET.com, again, is helping us considerably as well as far as the data that we do have from supervised ag experience and workplace skills. You can kind of see as far as some of our numbers there, as far as attaining visits and assistance to school districts, ag in the classroom coordinators there then as well. We, of course, have had to pivot to more Zoom events and online events, but even me, the availability of getting to other meetings without the travel across the state has definitely been a challenge, but also it has been, an opportunity to possibly get to more individuals via this platform. Again, a professional development plan that Ann had mentioned, the partnership with IAVAT. And again, it was just debuted by Jennifer here that we do have a new spring series as well, partnering with IAVAT to make sure that we have a rigorous and extensive professional development plan for teachers. I also offer that we did have a session over the summer for IACCAI, and would be glad to do that again. As far as if that is needed and so on, as far as giving us some direction there then as well. The state Teach Ag results, again, that is a grant from National FFA, but again, utilizing that well to recruit and retain ag teachers across the state. E-learning opportunities, we do have that website or web link, and then also do have one for community college ag instructors as well. Ongoing piece with the Ag Career Chat with agribusinesses and also universities, your participation as well as far as community colleges. Again, we are continuing that as well each Friday. So again, look for those emails on that topic. Again, also working with IAVAT and FFA as far as the diversity and inclusion state plan. Our again, partnership with the University of Illinois with our first year teachers, our second year teachers. Again, that did have to be virtual over the summer, but again, we did get through that over a 2-day time period as well. I do want to mention and follow up with Andrew's comments then also as far as his assistance as far as getting the FCA grant approved so that we can start the flow of funds. Again, those state payments are still about 3 to 4 months behind. One thing to add as far as what Andrew had mentioned as far as the FCA project with the Illinois Committee for Ag Education, IACCAI, they are reviewing those state rules along with ISBE, but the main reason for the extension for the 1-year extension with Parkland College, who is our fiscal agent, is potentially changing those rules so that more entities could apply for the FCA project. So at this time in the state rules, the only entities that can are community colleges and universities with an agricultural education program. So the idea is that more entities would be added to those state rules that would then be able to apply for the FCA grant. One thing too that I'll hit upon a little bit more, take a little bit more time with, if you do click on that link as far as the new AF&R course matrix for the high school level, as far as the community for high schools and middle schools, we did have a change as far as moving from 5 pathways to 8 pathways. And I did note in the report then as far as what the titles of those new 8 pathways are. And again, we do have an extensive list of probably right at about 30 right now new ag courses. And again, as you take a look at those, that might be an opportunity for more articulation across the state then, or between your high schools and each individual community college. As was mentioned there too by Andrew, we do have a contract currently with Cutting Edge Curriculum. And again, CART is still available, and My CART, the website, is still in use, but and the name is still in use. It is just a new entity that was made up of Doug Falk, Mindy McDermott, and Jay Runner, and it is a not-for-profit entity called Cutting Edge Curriculum. But we did move into a contract with them to revise the agribusiness library, and that is currently being revised. A couple of individuals from IACCAI are definitely helping with that project, and we appreciate that. And again, those new resources should be available, I shouldn't say should, but will be available by November of 2021. Again, as was mentioned, we're assisting school districts as on a virtual format, and then also as well making sure that if we can get in person, again, that is preferable, but that does depend upon each area of the state. State staff, again, the 6 of us, along with Mindy and John at the FFA Center and Andrew, again, are not meeting in person, but we now are meeting on a weekly basis. We've done that since March. And again, normally about a 2-hour time period, and our meetings right now are every Tuesday at about 10 o'clock. We did have a successful webinar as far as trying to improve and expand urban agricultural education programs. And again, that was with the help of Representative Sonia Harper in the Chicago area, and then also Greg Webb, who is the new vice president for the Illinois Leadership Council for Agricultural Education. And of course, many of you know, works for ADM. But we did have good interest as far as school districts across the state, mainly urban programs across the state that are interested in having an agriculture program, ag food and natural resources program at some point. Again, with the University of Illinois, we did partner with them with a lesson study project to assist ag teachers and improving their content and their lesson plans and their peer review. And that was a project with their gas grant. So again, that may be something with other entities that do have a gas grant. Amy Lehman at the University of Illinois is heading that up if you did want to receive more information. Each of our, again, program advisors, including myself, do a monthly summary. And again, you can click on that link if you would like to review those as well. The next item, our supply and demand information. I do want to maybe take more of a drill down approach with this document if you do click on it. But again, we did, for this last year, we did have 66 openings as of really would have been August, the end of August of 2020. 65 of those were filled. And again, just some statistics that are moving on with that is that we did have 7 retired teachers, 25 left the teaching profession. Again, don't necessarily like to see that high, but that also does show that business and industry, other entities are interested in our agriculture teachers across the state. 14 teachers were hired with a ELS, and again, an educator license with stipulations formerly provisional, so that continually stays high. That may not be as high this next year as far as talking about the next point. One thing too, to mention that 16 additional teachers were added, and a couple of reasons for that is mainly because of the lack of career and development, career and technical education teachers, CTE teachers across the state in other areas, specifically industrial tech and family consumer science. So when those individuals either leave and or retire, they look at agricultural education, contact a program advisor in hopes of hiring or advertising under the agricultural education title. We are happy to see, and again, through many of your efforts across the state, that we do have 40 college seniors that are currently student teaching, finishing up in the fall. More of them will be student teaching in the spring, starting here soon. licensed and ready to graduate in May of 2021. That number is our highest that we have ever been. If you look at that far right-hand column, and again, one year we did have 39 individuals. So again, we are tracking that information. We're not as high as far as 40 for the future years, but we do hope that that will increase. And again, we do appreciate your partnership and again, definitely promoting agricultural education as a career. Working with NIU, Northern Illinois University Educational Systems, some of you will appreciate being a part of those advisory committees and establishing an AF&R program of study project. The end project is not there yet, but if you do click on that link and on the right-hand side under resources, you can kind of see as far as what the other areas are, as far as what we're trying to establish as far as a program of study. Do want to definitely congratulate part of our national professional organization, National Association of State Supervisors in Agricultural Education. John Edgar was named an Outstanding State Staff Award, and also Megan Coy, as far as both were finalists as far as Outstanding New State Staff Award as well. So we definitely congratulate John and Megan on that achievement. The next item, just to kind of end with, is the Illinois Leadership Council for Agricultural Education. They did have a meeting here in December, beginning of December. They did have their annual awards a part of. We did recognize 4 legislators across the state, and they were very complimentary about agricultural education. They did make some very nice comments and so on that as well. So again, we do feel that we do have that legislative connection. We appreciate your support in involving those legislators with your programs as well. Just to mention, their next meeting is Friday, February 5th, and that will be from 9 to 12. And then to mention, Doug Hansen is our retiring president. Alan Burrow, many of you might know as well, is our current chair. And then I had mentioned Greg Webb is the vice chair working for ADM. So we can take questions, maybe moving on into the agenda here. I'm going to give the ball to Lucas Allen, who heads up summarizing the data across the state as far as community college data. And that is a link at on the first page then as well. You did want to take a look at that. I sent that out yesterday as well. So Luke, it's all yours to kind of maybe make some highlights as far as this past year's professional and program statistics.
Hi, thanks for having us on, everybody. It's good to see you all again. I try to wrangle all of the data into something that we can compile annually, and we transitioned to a new website this year. So I was trying to pull information that had been entered on the old site with some things that were transitioning to the new site, and a lot of there are some minor subtle changes in faculty and things. We didn't get a lot of the reporting this year on the adjunct instructors. So adjunct instructor updates of profiles seem to be down this year across the bulk of the state. So I'm not as confident in the part-time faculty. It seemed we were in pretty good shape on the full-time reporting. A lot of the data that's in the system would not easily transfer to the new site. So everybody should have an account. Certainly everybody here on this call should have an account on the new AgEd website. And if you don't know what that login is, I don't know if you've received your automated email or not, but if you go to the login button, there is a forgot password, and it will email you. If you just enter your email address, it will email you your username and password, and that would be the easiest way to find your login information to the new AgEd website. Once you're in, you'll click the account settings, and there are 3 areas where you can update your school information, your own personal profile, and the enrollment information and the number of CDEs you host and those kinds of things. So it's pretty easy to navigate. I'll put into the chat the handbook I made. I know Megan Coy said she's worked with several of her colleges and they went through the user guide that I made, and it walks you through step by step with pictures on how to enter those things. I'll include that link for you here as soon as I'm done. But for the most part, everything has been moved and set up in the new site. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer those. If you are looking at the data report, I did last year, I think, develop a table showing enrollment over time. So we dropped a little bit of enrollment. Part of that could have been due to dropping enrollments. Part of that could have been due to reporting issues with schools not reporting. So the most important thing I need all of you to do is make sure that you report. If you want to do it now while you've got a little bit of a breather, or if you want to wait until spring semester starts. I don't know how many of you expect an uptick in enrollment once the spring semester starts, or if you can safely say you can go ahead and complete those things now. That you know your programs and schools better than me, but the most important thing we need is updating your information. What we did add this year to the new database is we added a category for staff in addition to faculty. So if let's say you have a land lab manager, someone who's not an academic teacher, but you want them in the system to receive AgEd listserv messages and to know what's going on, we can send listservs just to community college members. So please, we would encourage you to enter those staff members. I don't know that we necessarily need like department secretaries or things like that, but if you have maybe an ag department recruiter or a land lab manager, greenhouse manager, feel free to enter those people, and when we set up their profile, there's a designation for staff compared to faculty. So we would appreciate you adding those. That's the biggest change in the data that we're collecting. And if you need an account to be set up on the AgEd website, contact your FK advisor or contact me. And any of us can set you up in the AgEd website. At this point, I'll open it up to questions. And I will follow up in the chat window with the link to the user guide. Thank you, everybody.
I'll maybe go back to my question. Is there any interest for setting up a virtual webinar again in the spring, or would you maybe want to wait again until the summer if that was needed for any professional development that we could assist with?
I think the last time IACCAI Executive Committee met, we kind of discussed they may wait until we have a decision for IVAT conference to see if there's a way to incorporate something into IVAT conference once the decision's made there.
I would like to remind everybody that on the AgEd website, under Teach, the menu Teach, there is a post-secondary instructors page that's been built with file sharing space for teaching resources. I know that we've had Mr. Grebner has shared quite a few files with us to post there, but that's all that's been shared so far, and that was a request out of the last conference that we had. So if any of you have resources that you would like to be shared to that page, please send those to me or your FK advisor, and we can get those loaded into that file sharing. So again, you on the AgEd website, you go to Teach and then post-secondary instructors, and you'll find the file sharing and teaching resources page. And those are, you don't even need a login to access those. So I would encourage you to take advantage of that. And thank you to Mr. Grebner for so graciously sharing the resources that you've developed.
And two, maybe Jeff, you might mention, but the comment from last night's networking, both John and I had mentioned that we would be able to set up a web page with the community college videos that were shared and are very good. So again, you maybe already have that on your agenda to make mention of.
No, this is the perfect time. So if you guys have anything you'd like John or Dean and the rest of the FK staff to share with programs in the state, I know a lot of us have been doing work at trying to reach recruitment students, and they're more than willing to help with that. Any other questions for Dean or Luke on the data or any of the information they shared?
Dean, this is Grant Krebner. I have a quick question. We are in the process of searching for a dean for our AIT department at ICC. I'm on that committee, so I don't know if anybody wants to work with me or for me, but can we put that job posting somewhere, or can our HR department send that to you to send out? Is that a possibility?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
And that makes mention to you, Grant, you triggered my memory there a little bit. In the supply and demand study that we did, and maybe we didn't do a very good job of this, but there surely was some openings this last year as far as within your community college as far as ag. Right now we're showing 0 and 0. So if you did have maybe an opening, and if that opening was filled, maybe just let me know privately in email or chat so that then we could update that data. But as of right now, we only included 0 and 0, even though there might have been some changes amongst all of the community colleges.
And just a reminder, there is a space on the Ag Ed teaching vacancies page just for post-secondary instructors.
Okay, thank you. I wasn't sure if that included deans. If it does, I'll make sure we get that job posting sent.
Any other thoughts or questions for Dean and his staff? All right. Thank you again, Dean, for all that you do and your staff does, to all of our program advisors. They're definitely a great resource. So we thank you again for all that you do. We'll move on to John Eggers, Executive Director, and the Illinois FFA report.
So I did post a link to that in the chat as well. Not a whole lot to hit that hasn't already been touched on. As Dean mentioned, we did have record membership in 2019, 2020 for Illinois FFA, and those numbers are looking fairly steady into 2020, 2021. Chapters will have an opportunity to submit more members in the spring, so we're looking to remain fairly level. And as all of you have done, everything's been switched to virtual, but all things considered, that process has gone very well. Our officers have developed virtual chapter visits. We conducted a virtual build conference this fall, and officers are planning a virtual ground zero conference in the spring. And as Ann mentioned earlier, we've conducted all of our contests virtually this fall, and we've been very impressed and somewhat blown away in some areas by the amount of participation we've received in our virtual conferences and competitions. So excited about the engagement we've been able to have in this season, but looking forward to getting the officers out and about and engaging with members as soon as possible. Listed a few things in the report if you want to take a look at specifics, but we were very excited with our national convention results this year. We had multiple agri-science national champions. We had multiple areas of the National Chapter Award that the winners were from Illinois. We had a national proficiency winner, and of course, Miriam Hoffman being elected to national office as the Eastern Region Vice President. Extremely excited because that's been 14 years since our last national officer from Illinois. So excited for her and that experience. I believe she just had her first board meeting this week. So excited to hear from her how she thinks that went. And then in foundation world, one of the things that I did want to mention, after our PAS call last night, we'd kind of been discussing foundation and sponsorships, and have been able to kind of pull together some updates that we're excited. We have a majority of our PAS sponsorships confirmed. So as we discussed kind of what we would be able to charge for PAS conference in the spring, doing it virtually, I think we'll be in pretty good shape there with the number of PAS sponsorships that are confirmed. And all numbers so far are looking good in both sponsorships and local collection drive. Things are still pretty early in both of those, but the areas we're most worried about are things that we've traditionally done as state at large fundraising in the past. So when we've done things like the Cardinals game or Sale of Champions at State Fair, those are some pretty big fundraisers for the state foundation that will result in some pretty significant losses to have to try and recoup. But we are excited. Riley Duckworth came on board in May. What a time to start a new job, especially in fundraising. But she has done an outstanding job with us, and excited to kind of get her feet wet and keep working for the foundation. Alumni updates, they did conduct an online auction this past fall, and they are planning another online auction for FFA week. So I did already have somebody reach out, but I know sometimes we do have community colleges or universities that are interested in donating items for the alumni auction that then go to raise money for scholarships. If you have anything that you'd like to donate for those auctions, please reach out to me and I can connect you with their auction coordinator. But their annual meeting that's traditionally in January, they have decided to postpone. And so that's why they're doing that virtual auction and are postponing that decision until we know what we're doing with FFA convention later in the spring. Only other quick updates I would give regarding the FFA Center is that Lori Nelson got married this last fall. So those of you that email her for membership inquiries, she does have a new email. It's lcopsey@illinoisffa.org. So be sure to change that in your contacts. That's on the link to report if you need that. And then our office is currently on a soft close. So we traditionally just have 2 to 3 staff members that are working in the office each day until the mitigations and the current phase we're in right now are lifted. And so most of our staff are working from home. If you ever call into the office and don't get an answer, really best way to reach any of our staff right now is via email, since a large portion of our time is spent working from home. But I believe that is all the updates I have at this time. Would open it up for any questions.
John, we're very grateful for all the work that you and the rest of the staff do at the FFA Center, and not only us as city college programs, but all of education in Illinois. Any questions for John before we move on?
I will throw a plug out there to those that were on the PAS call. I'm building a survey, so please keep an eye out for that. So that those of you that will be able to help with a spring PAS conference, try to fill that out and get that back pretty quick. And then our PAS board of directors, we've got a doodle poll open to figure out when we can meet next for PAS board. So it'll be important for us to know your availability for helping with those contests, which again would be during FFA week in February. So keep an eye out for that survey in your inbox in the coming days.
Excellent. I'm going to turn it over to Jess Smithers. He's going to introduce our other guest speaker that we have with us today.
All right. Hey, appreciate the opportunity to introduce Ashley Collins with AFA, and appreciate her taking the time to join us. And it's just a way for us to learn about another opportunity for our students and how they could get involved in AFA. I know that we have a few community colleges that have taken advantage of that opportunity and have students that have participated in their leader institutes or other opportunities. So if you have students who have participated, maybe after Ashley provides an update, I'm sure she would welcome questions, but I'd love to hear from you guys as instructors as well to share about those opportunities in addition to Ashley. So appreciate you coming on board, Ashley, and take it from here.
Thank you so much, Jess. I appreciate this invite. It's the small world of agriculture. I see a lot of names that I have communicated with via email or that I know from my previous, what I call my previous life. I used to be with agcareers.com before I came to AFA and did a lot of work with PAS when I was there. Dean, it's great to see you. So just, gotta love this small community that we're in. So I see a couple others that I've either exchanged emails with or had some type of experience with in the past. So I have been with AFA for almost 4 years now as our Director of Collegiate Relations. And so my role is to get AFA top of mind on more college campuses, both community college and four-year programs across the nation. If you have no idea what AFA is, I'll give you the 30-second commercial here. We are a nonprofit organization founded in Kansas City, Missouri by the Kemper family. Some people may be familiar with UMB Bank System. Their founder, R. Crosby Kemper Jr., founded AFA. There is a little story there of the history of National FFA leaving Kansas City and thus AFA being born, but we don't focus on that like a ton. We're great friends with our FFA partners. But he wanted an organization that gave students who were already leaders, they had been through the 4-H and the FFA experiences, and they were ready to take that to the next level, an opportunity to come together at a conference and take those skills to the next level. I often say they don't teach corporate in college. That's what AFA does. Now, a lot of the experiences that a young person would have in a collegiate experience prepare them in different ways, and they maybe, hopefully, if they have some experiential learning opportunities like internships or work experiences, those help get them a little closer to that corporate experience. But some of the things that we focus on in our programming are time management, goal setting, financial management. We bring in, he's by far the best, our highest rated speaker every year. His name is Adam Carroll. He works with our students on how do you fill out a health savings account, how do you set up a 401k, why should you set up a 401k, and how to determine how much you put into that account. We do a lot on communication. How do you, if you're talking to a group of 10 people in person, what do you do with your hands versus if you're talking to a group of 500 people? We see a lot of young people who are very passionate about agriculture and want to be advocates, and those communication skills just help get them to the next level. We actually use a body language coach. She is involved in jury selection. She's a national consultant for jury selection, and she teaches our students what some of the nuances that they do with body language may tell an employer about them. And team leadership, cultural competence, those are some of the sessions that happen at our Leaders Conference. Students apply. So we are a selective organization. Students apply, and if they are accepted to our programs, we pay for everything. Their only skin in the game is their travel cost to get to our programs, which Leaders Conference is offered every year in Kansas City. So for many of your students, that could be a drive for them. And so not as much of an expense, but once they get there, we're covering hotel, meals, etc. We also offer 5 different leader institutes, just alluded to those. So everything that I rattled off around Leaders Conference was really specific to what I call employability skills. Some of that they don't teach corporate and college type stuff. Our institutes are what I would call field trips on steroids. They are 2.5-day immersive experiences where students come. Again, everything is paid for if they're selected, and they really get entwined into that particular industry. They get the opportunity to go on tours of up to 4 different businesses within that sector and spend 1.5 to 2 hours at that location in a small group of 10 to 12 students and really interact with executives, hiring managers, people doing the day-to-day jobs. These institutes are, the areas that we offer those in are food, technology. Our Technology Institute actually travels with the Commodity Classic trade show, if you're familiar with that. It is a culmination of the American Wheat Growers, National Corn, a couple different commodity groups, as well as the Association of Equipment Manufacturers. So a lot of new technologies being released in the industry seem to be highlighted at that conference. An Animal Institute, a Crop Science Institute, and then Policy Institute, which is held in Washington, D.C. There are a lot of layers to our onion. We can be quite complex to understand. So I do want to take questions if anyone has those. The other thing that I would maybe highlight and mention here is that We did have to do the virtual thing like so many this past year, and we had over 900 students accepted for Leaders Conference. We were not at our highest application numbers, but we were not far from our highest number. We had over 1,300 students apply for Leaders Conference as part of our general selection. And so we know that there are young people out there who have a passion, talent, and commitment to the agricultural industry who are looking for opportunities like this. Right now, our institutes are all on track to be held in person in 2021. We are still monitoring, and we plan to make a decision as to how we will address that when we get into the new year. The first institute that's being offered is Animal Institute, and it's not being held until April, but the deadline to apply is January 27th. And then I'll also just mention we are a scholarship granting organization, and that's actually part of Mr. Kemper's original vision, was for not only these young people to get training from our experiences, but to also have the opportunity to pay for or to help provide for their education. And so we have a scholarship application that is currently open. It will close in March, and then students will be notified if they've received the scholarship in June. And if they've received the scholarship, they must attend Leaders Conference. That is a caveat. So this past year, we awarded just over $320,000 in academic scholarships. 73 of those went to small communities. So in the state of Illinois, we do have a community that offers this scholarship, and some of you may be familiar with that model, but then we also have a national scholarship program that your students would be eligible to apply for. We awarded just shy of 100 of those national scholarships this past year. So I'll take questions because I feel like we've probably got a little, a variety of familiarity with AFA. So I just wanted to give like a high-level overview and introduce myself, but happy to take any questions.
Well, I appreciate that information. I guess a question that I have is what recommendation would you have for us as far as advice that we might give to students to improve their odds of being selected? I guess what are you looking for in those candidates that might help us determine what types of students to encourage for those institutes or the Leaders Conference as well?
Absolutely. So and I will say that this past year, we removed the essay component from our Leaders Conference application, but we do envision that coming back for Leaders Conference, which is held in November of every year. We do anticipate adding that essay component back, and there is an essay that is involved in each of the institute applications. The biggest advice that I could give you in encouraging your students and helping them through that process is to have a second set of eyes look over those essays. They're really short. They're only about 300 words, but you can really quickly differentiate that student who had a second set of eyes versus someone who just sat down at midnight and threw some words on the screen. And those essays are actually scored by about 200 volunteers across the industry. It is a volunteer base made up of former AFAers as well as the companies who support us. I mentioned that we're a nonprofit organization. We are funded. We make the wheels go around on this bus based on sponsorships from a variety. We have over 110 different companies, foundations who support our organization. And so often some of those, especially when you get to the institutes, those companies who are supporting those institutes will have volunteers within the organization who read over those essays. And so that's where that scoring comes into place. The other 50% of that application, we look at the students' work experience, their involvement in extracurricular activities, and their community service experiences. And the best advice I can give is if they can list, they have the opportunity to list 3 in each of those categories, list 3. Especially your community service, we're not looking for community service specific to the agricultural industry, but if you helped with something in your community, like feeding the homeless or working at a food bank, that's absolutely applicable. Or if you volunteer to help a producer in your area harvest or work animals, list those experiences as part of the application. And then in those essays, what we're really looking for is that student's passion, talent, and commitment to agriculture. We do not limit that you have to be a hard and fast agricultural major. We actually had 4 students who were dietetics and nutrition focused at our leaders conference this past November, because those are the food system. You know, this is probably not an audience I need to explain that to, but a person coming from a dietetics background absolutely would benefit from being part of an agricultural community and understanding the true farm to table component, and that the different opinions around GMOs in our food and et cetera. And so those are some of the dialogues and conversations that we see happening at our events.
Ashley, one thing I was kind of curious about, do you have a kind of a set number of students that you select from universities versus community colleges? You know, one thing I think the students have some hesitation in is that as a freshman at a community college, their application is going to be judged against a senior that's been at a university for 3.5 years.
That's a great question. We do not limit. We don't have a cap for a 4-year group versus a student at a community college or a junior college or technical school. And we score freshmen against freshmen, sophomores against sophomores, juniors against juniors, and so on. So they compete within their grouping of students. I will say I think some of our community college students struggle with that on identifying what year they are in school. So if they know they're in a 2-year degree program, they may, even as a freshman, when they go to select what year they are in school, they may put 3rd year because they've only got 2 years left in their experience. But we've built in some questions into our application to get more specific of how many hours have you taken thus far towards a collegiate degree, so that we can better place them into the appropriate grouping for scoring.
So what's the most typical applicant? I mean, is it mostly after their sophomore year, or after their junior, or during their sophomore or during their junior year?
Our largest grouping this past year, we had 31% of our Leaders Conference attendees were freshmen. We took the largest group there, and that is, we're on a trajectory to continue to do that because we want to capture these students when they're young and get them into our system, and hopefully they will continue to come back year over year and build upon. So when I was mentioning some of those employability type skills like time management, goal setting, financial management, we offer those where that student is in their collegiate experience. So you get goal setting and time management as a freshman. You get communication skills as a sophomore. You get financial management in the junior year. So they can come back year after year, and it's a totally different conference that they're attending. Now, institutes, you come to one, you've pretty much seen it, with the exception of Crop Institute, because we rotate from North Carolina, Iowa to California. So you're going to see crop. You can attend all 3 of those and see different types of crop production. But we actually probably see our highest amount of applicants to that freshman pool. And this year we were very successful in that, and I think it was just from a standpoint of colleges and universities weren't able to offer career fairs in the same way, or opportunities for employers to come onto campus. And so I think a lot of young people realized we may be that avenue for them to do some of that networking. So I think that answers your question, Jeff. Is that good?
Yep. Yeah, I think the general sense was kind of what Jeff mentioned, is it going to be a disadvantage for freshmen to apply, but it sounds like definitely not. And so there's certainly a place for community college students, obviously.
Yep. And
Any other?
I will put my email address in the chat. I certainly can still take questions, but if you want more information or if you want to be added to our mailing list, we do have a collegiate newsletter that goes out bi-monthly that gives you a timeline of, okay, these are the things coming up in the next 2 months. Here are materials you can use to promote to your students. We have everything from social media graphics and copy already written to an email that you can blast out to your students, or you can hand pick and send to specific students. And so if you want to be a part of that, you can certainly reach out to me and I will make sure you get added to that. And I'll put my email in the chat. But I think there was another question.
Anybody else in the group have any questions for Ashley before we move on? I know we've had students come in the past and they've had great things to say about the leader conference. So it sounds best that they've been to. So definitely everybody share opportunity with students and publicize that in your programs.
Thank you very much. I did share with Jess. I will say currently I've not done this evaluation. But my gut, I've not like done the math hardcore. But based on the 4 years that I have been here and looking at applicants specifically to Leaders Conference, I do think Illinois sees the most applicants from community colleges and thus the most students we see represented from the state of Illinois who are at community colleges. And so I appreciate everyone on the call who has history with us or who is promoting us, and I just look forward to getting more applicants in the future. I hope you all have a great Christmas break and happy holidays and stay safe and healthy.
Great, thank you, Ashley. If you don't have it, if no one else has any questions, we'll move into our old business. The one I had down notes last year, we formed a committee of, I believe, Jess Smithers and Bill Harmon co-chaired on looking into incentive grant funds or the possibility of those dollars. I don't, or I guess ready. Do want to update on the little work you did?
Thanks, Jeff. As Jeff mentioned, Jess and I have been looking into this. We did approach the IACCAI committee, and Dean can maybe help me with the date, but it was in 2019, and talked to them about it. And after some discussions, basically what we were told was that the money and the incentive funding, supplemental funding grant cannot go to community colleges because we're community colleges. And if we wanted to get any kind of funding for supplemental funding incentive grant for our programs, it would have to come from ICCB. That was the position of the IACCAI council, how they interpreted the legislation. Jess, you got anything else you want to add to that?
I think that summarizes it well.
I think when IACCAI discussed it, yeah, it was just the point that since ISBE handles the money that's in the current line item, ISBE was limited on the funds they could give to community colleges and indicated there was support in working with our lobbyists to make an ask for funds through ICCB. But again, then I think everything happened with COVID and the pandemic, and now trying to figure out timing may not be quite as ideal for making an additional funding ask compared to just trying to save what we got for the time being.
One thing to mention, Bill, is at the meeting, you were part of public comment. So there was some questions, I believe, to you, though the Illinois Committee for Ag Education has not put it on their agenda to discuss in the future. So if this group did want to get it on the agenda as a discussion item versus public comment, you would need to get in touch with Andrew Klein and Amy Lehman, the current chair, to make that happen. and or go through Kaizen, of course, too.
And I think we could, but I don't know how helpful that's going to be, since IACCAI is only an advisory group to State Board of Education, and State Board of Education has indicated it would have to go through ICCB. So we probably need to get on an agenda to discuss with ICCB or an advisory council for them to get much traction.
I may not be totally versed on it. Maybe John, you could maybe answer, or Dean could. Do the universities get funding through the ISBE funds?
They
funds
do,
go
and
to
the reason
university?
they say that's allowable is because it's specifically for ag ed and for ag teacher prep, recruitment, retention, which is directly relevant to secondary education. But since not all of our community colleges have ag ed programs, that's where they indicated they wouldn't necessarily be able to send money to community colleges, especially those that don't have specified ag ed programs.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that makes sense.
One thing, Jeff, that to me, that the answer that was given is a little gray as to what you just asked, because community colleges do and are a part of agricultural education because of the course that some do offer. So the thought process was that that is still potentially you're in, and or hoping that maybe more community colleges would offer that ag education course.
Sure. Well, thank you to Bill and Jess for the work that you did. I guess as an organization, we can continue to kind of look into that, or see what avenues there are out there to help bring funds into our programs to improve our programs. So definitely all to keep advocating and keep looking at those possibilities. So again, thank you to Bill Harmon and to Jess Smithers for that. Is there any other old business that anyone would like to bring to the floor? What was the main thing I saw from last year's conference? Any other old business? New business, Maria Berggren would like to chat with us a little bit about the scholarship opportunity that she's involved in.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. So hi, everybody. I'm Maria Berggren at Illinois State, but I'm here today just real quick representing the Illinois Society of Professional Farm Managers and Rural Appraisers. I've talked to you the last couple of years that we've met about the transfer scholarship program that we offer. I serve as the academic VP for that organization. So I'm really excited that we have this opportunity for transfer students. I want to thank those of you who have already helped us identify and award these scholarships to students. You heard about Miriam Hoffman earlier today from John, and of course Susan could speak about her as well. She was one of our winners of the scholarship this year. We've had winners also from Lakeland, Parkland, JJC, and Wabash Valley. So we have 2 students in the program who are completing their senior year this spring and will be graduating, and then we have 3 that are currently juniors in the program. So if you have students at your community colleges who are interested in potential careers in professional farm management, rural appraisal, or rural consulting, then this is a perfect opportunity for them. The application is pretty straightforward. They participate in the Society's summer tour each year, and they do a job shadow experience with one of our accredited members in the society. We provide $1,000 for their junior year and then a $500 renewal scholarship for their senior year. So our application deadline is March 1st of 2021. Normally it's February 1st, but with everything being a little bit weird and a little bit delayed this year, we decided to push it off to March 1. So when we come back for spring semester, I'll get the application material sent out to the Ag Ed listserv through the FK individuals. But after we are done here today, I'll go ahead and send it out to those who have been on Jeff's distribution list for this conference so that you'll have it. But again, nothing to worry about until we come back for spring semester. Just wanted to make you aware that it was coming. The students that are in the program have some really neat opportunities to learn about these professions and interact with professionals in the Illinois chapter. So that's what I have for you. And thank you, Jeff, for the opportunity to just announce that briefly.
Yes, thank you for sharing that opportunity for our students. Is there any other new business to come on the floor from the membership?
Jeff, I've got a question for the group. Kaizad's term on IACCAI ends in March. He was selected by the governor a couple years ago. When my term was up, I don't know, I've got a question for Teresa or Jenny. Does Kaizad still teach at Parkland or at U of I?
He is retired from Parkland. Teresa, are you still on? Can you?
I'm still on. Yeah, I was having trouble unmuting. He's retired from Parkland. He still teaches part-time, a class or two each semester, or only fall semester maybe, at the U of I. But he is not involved with community colleges at all anymore.
Okay. The reason I bring this up, folks, is, and it's not that I want to be your IACCAI representative, because I've done my tour on there. But Kaizad's not a member of our, dues-paying member of our organization, and he's supposed to represent us. You know, he hasn't been able to get on today. He's got some other commitments. He has gone to meetings, but in the past, this organization was able to recommend one of its members to serve on the IACCAI council. Governor Pritzker doesn't agree with that. He selected, they revised the council, and he selected people for whatever purposes he wanted them to be on there. And I'm not knocking Kaizad. I'm sure he's done the best job he can on there. But I think this group ought to consider, if you want him to serve again, then we need to send that recommendation to ISBE. Or if we want to have someone else serve, we need to send that recommendation to ISBE. Now, it's going to be up to the governor because it's at his discretion. I just want to put that out there for discussion. The reason I served on there was Bill Johnson came up to me at one of these events a number of years ago and said, "It's your turn." And I said, "Yeah, okay, sure." And I work in Springfield, so it was convenient. That's not necessarily, you know, how we need to select another person. Or like I said, if we're going to choose Kaizad again, that's fine, but they're supposed to represent our interests as community colleges.
I think in visiting with a few people yesterday, I think the proper action to take would be to draft a letter and to share our thoughts on our representation on IACCAI. I guess I'll entertain any other discussion, or if somebody would like to express their interest in serving in that group, maybe Dean, or I know Andrew's not on anymore, but maybe Dean can talk to or Bill, you could talk to the responsibilities of what person would.
Sure, Jeff. They are currently virtual meetings, and the next one is Friday, January 8th from 9 a.m. to 12. But again, Kaizad's term does end in March. He had a 2-year term. And again, this group is more than welcome to have a replacement and or recommendation for that, as far as what Jeff was mentioned. But again, that's kind of where we stand at this point.
Dean, do you anticipate those meetings going back to in-person, or do you think they'll stay virtual?
I would hope that they would go back to in-person, yes. And they have been, the ones that we did have a year ago up until March were in person, and they were all at the ISBE building in Springfield versus around the state or at the FFA Center. And that has mainly been due to the requirement to follow the Open Meetings Act.
Any other discussion or thoughts, group?
No, I'd just say I would concur with Bill that would be good to have an active member of this organization or an active community college instructor. And I don't know that we necessarily have to have a recommendation today. I suppose it's something that the board could draft a letter and provide a recommendation. But if there is someone that would like to volunteer at this point, or if we have somebody wants to make a motion, that'd be fine today. Otherwise, maybe that's something the board can work towards.
Yeah, I would think if anybody is thinking about this and you'd like to be involved, I mean, the IACCAI committee is, you know, that's a guidance role. But if anyone's thinking about it and you're, you know, contact the board members, submit your name. I think the board can vote on our behalf and submit a name if they get one that they approve of to the governor's office. But it bothered me. It didn't bother me that I was taken off of IACCAI because there's lots of people who can do that job. It bothered me that they didn't ask us. The governor simply, and I'm going to tell you what it is. The governor's looking for diversity. If you look at the the creation of IACCAI, that's what the reasoning was behind it. It was a political decision. I didn't vote for the governor. I probably never will, you know, but that's neither here nor there. I think they figured that out during my interview. We don't need this to be a political office. This is supposed to be a service. This committee is supposed to serve ag education in Illinois. I think we need to recommend somebody who we think will serve our interests as well as the rest of ag education.
And just to update too, there is an application process, and then it could be followed up by an interview as well. Bill could probably go through that process if need be. And then also to let you know that Becky Ropp resigned from IACCAI about a year ago as one of the ILCAI reps. Karen Sheeler then was nominated by ILCAI, but there is also, due to COVID, the governor's office says that they are not approving any new members at this time. Now, hopefully that will change, but to be proactive, it would be best to get individual or individuals into the pipeline to be possibly processed when the time comes. But as of right now, IACCAI is operating with 12 members instead of 13, just because Karen Sheeler's application is just waiting.
Bill, did you want to put your thoughts or your wishes into a motion so we can maybe get something in the minutes and the executive committee can roll with that?
Yeah, I would, sure, I'll do that. I move that the executive committee seek applicants to be nominated to sit on the IACCAI committee representing community college agriculture instructors.
Thank you, Bill. Is there a second?
I'll second that, and I didn't catch all that for the minutes, so if you could repeat that, that'd be fantastic. But I trust your judgment, Bill, so I'm going to go ahead and second it.
Okay, let's see if I can remember what I said 60 seconds ago. I move that the administrative council seek applicants be nominated to serve on the IACCAI committee and forward applicants, we could send more than one name in, to ISBE for the governor's approval.
Thank you, Bill, for the motion and Jess for the second. Is there any discussion from the floor on the motion?
And Bill, you did intend for it to be IACCAI Executive Committee instead of Administrative Council, correct?
Yes, yes, I'm sorry. Thank you, John.
Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and vote. All those in favor of Bill's motion to seek out applicants for IACCAI and make a recommendation to ISBE of those applicants. Give me a reaction of some sort or throw your hand up on the screen. All opposed to the motion? Motion passes. Thank you to Bill for the motion. Is there any other new business for the membership at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on to our nominating committee's report. That committee is chaired by Pete Fondell and also contains Ryan Orick and Bill Wagoner. So Pete, I'll turn the floor over to you.
Okay, so I guess the current slate of officers that we're putting up would be that obviously Brian Clement would move up to the president position. Jess would move up to president-elect. Secretary, oh, I just didn't type that in here. Jeff, fill me in. Who'd you just email me? I sent it out.
Justin Ebert from
Yes, correct.
Highland Community College.
Correct. Sorry about that. I didn't type it in here before you got to that, so I wasn't. And then I'm assuming the treasurer would still be Doug Robb. And then obviously, Jeff, you would move into the past president position.
Thank you, Pete. So to repeat that, the slate of officers nominated by the nominating committee would be past president, myself, Jeff Landers, Joliet Junior College. President would be Brian Clement from College of DuPage. Vice President Jess Smithers from Richland Community College. Secretary Justin Ebert from Highland Community College. And Treasurer Doug Robb from Wabash Valley Community College. At this point, I'll entertain, that's an implied motion from the nominating committee. At this time, I'll entertain a second.
Second that, Aaron Heinzman.
Thank you, Aaron. Is there any discussion on the slate of officers or any amendments to be made? Seeing none, we'll vote on the proposed slate of officers by the nominating committee. All in favor, put a thumbs up or a reaction or raise your hand on the screen. Opposed? Congratulations to our new executive officers of our professional organization. Is there any other new business at this time from the membership?
I would like to recognize the good work of Jeff Landers over the past year as president of the organization and appreciate his leadership and organization at this time. And so I'm going to give him a little hand clap as a reaction. So thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, and thank you to all of you for your patience. I know that we typically have this conference in October, but definitely not the best time for us as in terms of our switch and paradigm to online learning for many of us. So the executive committee felt that getting the semester wrapped up was a priority, and to conduct the business of this conference afterwards. I hope that you understand or respect that it was based off the feedback that we got from you, how this conference kind of took shape. So if there is no other new business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the business meeting and the 2020 conference.
I so moved.
I caught Brad Angus as the motion. Who's the second?
Grant Grebner will gladly second it.
Thank you, Grant. All in favor of adjournment, say aye. Or give me a thumbs up or a hand in the camera.
Aye.
Opposed to adjournment? Excellent. Well, meeting adjourned. Thank you, all of you, for your participation in the conference. I encourage you to watch the awards presentation and the college update videos if you hadn't yet. If you have any feedback for myself or the executive committee or ideas for this year's conference, be sure to reach out for us.
And I would say for all the award winners, your awards will be coming in the mail eventually here. So because of the way this conference was, it kind of put a tweak to all that. So
sure. Well, I wish everyone a safe and happy holiday season, and best of luck in the spring semester. And have a safe drive home for all of us at home.